Hello there, and welcome to the second edition of Postie's Pointers, Cheltenham 2022, Day 1. Before we get started, I just want to mention a couple of things. A quick shout out to some of the lads from Royal Mail and their friends who's going to be attending Cheltenham this year. That's Willie, Righty, Dobber, Lee, Johnny, Rob, Prof, Kenny and Aaron. I hope they all have a great time there this year and they back a few winners, and hopefully I can help out with that. Also, a friend of mine who's going to attend it is Elaine from Concert Blind Shop. I hope she has some luck and I hope I can help her to pick a few winners. Also, just remember, if you fancy something yourself, don't be put off picking your own fancies. Only take my fancies if you're stuck and you're not sure what to do. If you fancy something yourself, go with them. Because especially in the big handicaps, big price horses come in and it's not always the fancied horses. So don't be put off backing your own. And as always, only gamble what you can afford to lose. Go steady. A couple of the things what I'll run through this podcast will be, I'll chat quite a bit about trends and statistics. There's quite a few factors to look at. The Irish dominance. If you look at last year, the UK had 5 winners, Ireland had 23, and that's not the first year that's happened, and I expect that'll be similar this year, unfortunately. So anybody who's backing England for the Presbytery Cup, who has the most winners between England and Ireland, I think you'll need a lot of luck on your side. I expect the Irish to dominate once again, unfortunately. One of the meetings what's been on in February, the Dublin Racing Festival, what's been going since 2018, is starting to look like it was quite a big factor when you're looking at trends. Horses what's ran at that meeting have went on to be very successful in the Cheltenham meeting of that year. Especially last year, where there was 28 races ran at Cheltenham last year, and 11 of them winners had run at the Dublin Racing Festival. So that's something to look out for, and it's a significant factor. Right, I think we've covered most bits and pieces there. Now, I'm just going to say we'll get down to brass tacks, because one of my sons, Peter, is always taking a mickey out of us. It must be something I say every time I come on these podcasts. I must always start and say get down to brass tacks, so hopefully it'll make him laugh. Right, if we can start with the first race on day 1, the Supreme Novices Hurdle. It's a 2-mile race, grade 1 race, run on the old course. It's a very competitive race, and it'll be a great race to start the meeting off with. Last year, because of COVID, there wasn't crowds allowed. There was only trainers and a few owners, I believe. So because of that, the atmosphere this year, when that first race starts, will be marvellous. I wish I was there. It'll be a great atmosphere with crowds back in. So, very enjoyable. Some of the factors I've looked at the first race, Willie Mullins' record, he's had 6 of the winners in this race over the last 15 years. Over the last 8 years, 6 winners have been rated 153 and higher. Flat horses, bred flat horses, what's come off the flat, have got a poor record in this race. So it's really the horses what's bred to go national hunt racing who should be the ones you focus on. Taking all that into account, Nicky Henderson's got a good record, as well as Willie Mullins. They go head to head in the first race. Henderson's got John Bunn and Constitution Hill, 2 horses what's done nothing wrong. They've won the races what they've run this season, and they've performed very well. I wouldn't put people off backing them. They'll run big races, John Bunn and Constitution Hill. But for me, I think it'll be down to Mullins, and I think Dysart Dynamo would be the one I would go with. It's won 2 races. In its last race, it stayed on really well. It could stay further than this, but Willie Mullins has decided to put this one in the race, in this 2-mile race, and he's pulled his other horse out, Sir Gerhard, and he's put that one in the Ballymore, the 2.5-mile race. Now, if Sir Gerhard had run in this race, it would have been very popular and it would have been probably favourite. So he must have enough confidence in Dysart Dynamo that he's left that one in and he's put Sir Gerhard in the 2.5-mile race. I expect Dysart Dynamo to finish up the hill and to finish its race out very well. So that's the first race covered. The second race is Yorkle Chase. This is a very fast run chase race. Any errors made, those horses will struggle to win this. They're jumping the fences that quick that it's got to be a horse what doesn't make any errors really what's going to win this. It's a quick 2-mile chase race. 8 of the last 10 winners has been trained by either Willie Mullins or Nicky Henderson. The ideal age profile of the horses is 6 and 7 year olds. 5-year-olds have a poor record in the race. And races to note what horses going into this race have won previously are the Wayward Lad Chase, or horses what's previously won the year before the Supreme Novice Hurdle. They've got a good records going on to run the Yorkle. Edwardstone, the favourite in the race, won the Wayward Lad this year. So I wouldn't put people off backing it. It's got every chance. But for me, again, it's another Willie Mullins horse, Blue Lord, which is about 7-2, I believe, somewhere around that price. I think Blue Lord, last time, it's won its 2 or 3 races. Last time it was claimed it could have been a bit lucky because the horse what was challenging and knew every chance made a bad jump to last. And Blue Lord only won by about half a length or so. And that horse is up against it again. But for me, I think Blue Lord possibly idled when it was in front. And I think there's more improvement to come. So for me, Blue Lord's the selection. The third race is the Ultima Handicap Chase. It's over 3 mile and it's a grade 3 race. What's significant here is 9 of the past 10 winners have wore some sort of headgear. Blinkers, a hood, noseband, some sort of headgear. And I think possibly the reason for that is some of these horses are a bit older and they're starting to think a bit about it. And putting headgear on is helping them to concentrate and see the races out. So that's something to look at. Good record for horses what's had headgear put on. Novices also have a good record, and novices especially with course form at Cheltenham. The other thing to look at is Pipe and John Joe O'Neill. Their record's good in the race. And Northern Trainers, which Northern Trainers don't have a lot of success down south at Cheltenham, but in this particular race they've done quite well over the years. A jockey what's done well in this race is Tom Scudamore. So it's another factor. Anything he's on is worth looking at. The Irish trained runners in this race over the last 15 years are 0 out of 28. So it's a race where, for a change, the Irish struggle to win for one reason or another. Horses need form over 3 mile plus because it will be a good test of stamina and they need to stay on at the end of the race. Higher rated horses, 142 to 148, have been significant in the years gone past. Taking all these factors into consideration, I've narrowed this race down to 2 or 3 horses. Gerard Colt Rago is 12 to 1 and it's Peter Scudamore's. It's Tom Scudamore's ride for Pipe. His record in the race is good, so it's got every chance each way. Another horse, what I believe is trained by Bailey, and I expect to run a good race, is the one I've took in the race. Does He Know? I think it'll be mapped out for this particular race. Bailey's done alright in the race before, and he'll know what's required. So for me, it's Does He Know? I'll be backing each way. I'll be backing Tom Scudamore's horse each way. And another one I wouldn't be put people off backing would be Vintage Clouds at a big price, about 20 to 1. Wide open race, but Sky Bet are paying 7 places instead of 4. I'm with Sky Bet, and I think that's a big factor in the race, that you're going to get a bit more value for each way bets. The fourth race, the Champion Hurdle, Honeysuckle will be going for its 15th consecutive win. It's done nothing wrong this year. It's looked as good as ever. Its preparation's been fine. I can't pick holes in what it's done this year. It's a short price. I've backed it a couple of times earlier on in the season at a couple of bigger prices, slightly bigger prices. I'm expecting it to go in. It is up against, it'll not be a penalty kick for it, it is up against Appreciated, which hasn't run since it won the Supreme Novice Hurdle last year, so a year ago. And it was very impressive there, won by 22 lengths, albeit that a horse what was going to be about 10 lengths second came down at the last, which meant it won even further. But it would have been a 10 length winner is a minimum anyway. But Appreciated, the shrewd trainer, Irish trainer, he's done this before. He's run horses what haven't had a race and they've just come out fresh after a year, but a year is a long time not to have run. He will have prepped this horse for the race. It'll be fully fit, but it's a massive ask to beat a horse like Honeysuckle, what's done nothing wrong itself and what's already won this championship race. So for me, I kind of go past Honeysuckle. Henderson's horse, Epitante, it has won this race before, about 2 or 3 years ago now. It went off the boil last year. It's running better this year, but it's older now. It might run into a place, but I don't expect it to topple Honeysuckle. So that's a bit brief for the Champion Hurdle race, but it's because I think Honeysuckle should win it. One horse I haven't mentioned there, which if a horse was to beat Honeysuckle, I would like it to be this one. Tommy's Oscar is about 20 to 1. It's trained basically, I don't think you'll mind us saying this, farmers in Northumberland who only had a handful of horses. They've got about 5 or 6 horses. Tommy's Oscar's won 3 or 4 races this year and done nothing but improve. But it'll have to find improvement again. Quite a bit of improvement, I think, to win this race. But if Honeysuckle was to be toppled, I would love it to be that one for the Hamiltons who train in Northumberland and run a farm there. And as a side issue, they train a handful of horses. And Tommy's Oscar is a really good horse for them. Good luck to the Hamiltons from Northumberland. Right, on to the 5th race, the Mares Hurdle, over 2.5 mile, Grade 1 race, which is run on the new course. Some of the factors in this race: Willie Mullins has a great record, and Ireland have a great record in the race. They've had 12 from the last 14 run-ins. You also want to try and have a horse what's, although it's a mares race, what's had winning form against the male horses. That's another factor. And they want to have also ran well in Grade 1s and Grade 2s. As far as the age group, 5 to 7 year olds, they've got a strong record. There's been 11 from 14 winners in that bracket, 5 to 7 year old. French bred horses have also done really well, 9 from 14. So there's another factor, if you like. You want horses what steer really well, can steer over further than 2.5 mile, because Cheltenham's a very testing course. You need loads of stamina, and a horse rated 150 and above have done particularly well in the race. Taking all these factors into consideration, it's a Mullins horse again, Stormy Island, which did come to England last season. It was with Nicholson, and it ran for a season with Nicholson. It previously was with Mullins. It's went back to Mullins, and it's had success this season. It's run really well. It's about 11 to 2, 6 to 1, and I think it's a good each way bet. Stormy Island in a tricky race. Again, Sky Bet, anybody who's with them, it's paying 5 players instead of 3. And other bookmakers will be enhancing the odds, or they'll be enhancing the places, I would imagine, in that race. That covers that race. We'll move on to 6th race. This is the Boodles Juvenile Hurdle, over 2 mile, previously known as the Fred Winter Hurdle race. The factors in this race, Gordon Elliott from Ireland and Paul Nicholls from England got a good record in the race. French bred horses, good record in the race. Again, you want a horse that's run a grade 1 or grade 2 during the season. Another factor to take into consideration here is, don't be put off anybody who's picking a big price horse out in a race, because it's a race what's throw up some big prices. It's not a race for favourites particularly. There's been some massive prices in the race, so if you fancy some big price or a name you like, have a punt on it for a few pound. Horses carrying 11 stone and above have done well in the race, and horses normally rated over 134. Sorry, horses rated 134 or less have got a good record. For a change, Willie Mullins, it's a race he doesn't do well in, so I would possibly look to avoid him in this particular race. Taking all these factors into consideration, a couple of horses I've come up with. One horse, Gaelic Warrior, a French horse, has been a horse where it's run in France last season, and it showed decent form in France against horses which went on to progress and run well. This horse might have been in a different type of race, to a graded race rather than a handicap race, but when the trainer's seen how good a handicap mark the English trainers give it, he couldn't resist putting it in this race rather than a graded race, and it's been backed as if defeat is out of the question. It's down as low as 5 to 2 now. Personally, at that price, I wouldn't back it. I would leave it alone. People have backed it at 10s and bigger. I had a little bit on at 6s, but I wouldn't touch it at the price it is now. A horse I would rather take a chance with, I would rather look for something each way in the race. There's a couple of horses. Ebersaw at 14 to 1 and HMS Seahorse at 14 to 1. They're 2 horses I would look at backing each way. Sky Bet have got 6 places, and other firms I would imagine will be offering some extra places. But I think them 2 will run a decent race as an each way bet, as an alternative to Gaelic Warrior, which, as I said, it could be a handicap snip, but at 5 to 2, I would leave it alone. The last race, the 7th race, is the National Hunt Novice Chase over 3 miles 6 furlong, Grade 2 race for amateur jockeys on the new track, on the new course, sorry. The type of horse you're looking for in this race: experienced chasers have done particularly well. Gordon Elliott's got a good record. Graded form and novice chasers. Jamie Codd, top amateur, great record in the race. The age group I'd be looking for principally would be 78-year-olds. Island Overall's got a good record. And the horses, the winners, normally, not always, but another factor would be 142 and above the horses. A lot of the winners have been rated. Taking all that into consideration, I've come up with one of Gordon Elliott's horses. Run Wild Fred. This is me nap of the first day. It's about 9 to 4, somewhere 9 to 4, 5 to 2, something like that. Gordon Elliott has said for a good while that this is a particular horse what be suited to this type of race, and he's earmarked its runs up to this race, and he's planned the season out accordingly with this race in mind. I expect to run a big race, and that's me nap of day one. Sky Bet are playing an extra place if anybody wants to have an each way bet in the race. I think they're paying 3 players instead of 2. Again, there'll be other bookmakers offering extra places in the race. Right, I think that's covered the 7 races on the first day. I wish you all have some luck. I hope I've helped you out a little bit. But remember, it's a bit of fun. Don't go mad gambling. Only gamble what you can afford to lose. And have a great first day. See you tomorrow. Bye.